Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Final Whistle. We've got the rowdiest group of Avengers this side of the Mississippi. I don't know if I've ever said it like that. If you're looking, we've got some guys missing. We got some new ones, but that's how Avengers work, man. It's not always the same team. It's not always the whole team. Sometimes it's just the team, and we got the team here tonight. We got the man, got all the recruiting chops. He keeps his little brother in line. He's the better looking of the family. Probably got all the moves. He's got the dance moves, according to the ladies. It's the one and only Dan James. How are you doing, good sir?
Man, you know the answer to that. I'm always good, man. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Ready for a fun-filled show.
Below him, speaking of fun-filled shows, the man that brings fun to every engagement he shows up at. He also brings the thunder when he talks Alabama football. He also is bringing the thunder behind the scenes these days at the Final Whistle. This guy is working it off. So give him the props. Hit that like and subscribe, not just for Final Whistle, for the work that this one, Lushawn Graves, is doing behind the scenes. How are you doing this night, Lou?
Man, it is football season, and guys, I can tell you this beyond a reasonable doubt. We are excited here at the Final Whistle Network. Bama is back. Pads are popping. People are talking Alabama, and I love this time of year. Petty, I'm excited. Let's freaking go.
Let's effing go. Pads are popping, but you know what always pops is our chat. Get that chat popping. But he pops so much in chat. We're like, dude, you got to come be a part of the gang. You are an Avenger at heart. And the stuff he would drop in chat let you know he knows a little more than the average Joe. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Van, the man, Edwards. How are you doing, sir? Welcome to the show.
Man, honor and a privilege, boys. Some of the stuff I dropped got me on some watch lists, so I'm going to dial it back just a touch. But, man, I'm excited to be here. Bama's got me fired up. These practice films got me fired up. Bama ain't back because we ain't never left. You understand? We just going to prove what we are this year.
Guys, welcome to the show, Van. Glad to have you. Glad to have us all here. Glad to have everybody in the chat. We love y'all. Sorry, last week we had a little bit of audio issues. As you can tell, we have those fixed. So tonight is going to go smooth as butter. But it's going to go smooth as butter because we've got some topics coming at you. Look, like Lou said, pads are popping. We're going to talk first week thoughts, reviews, what's going on from camp. Then we're going to hop into a hot topic from camp, and that is the guard position. I feel like there's some competition brewing, which we know what competition breeds at Alabama. It breeds championships when dogs are fighting dogs. We're going to get into that guard position. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what the veterans are saying about this fall. I'm going to do fall in quotes because it's 127 degrees. It feels like Satan's balls out there. It's fall camp, so what they call it. But no, we're going to give you the latest from it. But before we do that, let's give a little bit of love to the people that keep the lights on and sponsor us here at the Final Whistle. That is Tidal Towel. There's a wave rising in the South, and it's not in the ocean. It's the Tidal Towel, the ultimate symbol of Bama power, brought to you by WhitWillSports.com. Whether you're in Bryant-Denny or ripping from your living room, the Tidal Towel brings the heat. Crimson, bold, unapologetically Alabama. Join the wave the power. Get your Tidal Towel today at WhitWillSports.com. And if you tell them the promo code, the Final Whistle, I believe you get 20% off that beautiful towel. Do it today after the show, of course. Tidal Towel. Hey, man, we love you guys at WhitWillSports.com. We always appreciate the sponsorship. And, man, we appreciate those sweet-ass Tidal Towels. With that said, man, we got a hot show to talk about tonight. Football season it's here, guys. I don't even look at the countdown anymore. Fall camp's here. I know by the end of this month, pads will be popping, but they're popping on the practice field, guys. So, man, let's get right to it, Lou. I know you're running the ones and twos. Let's get to those week one takeaways. Who Dan, you want to start us off? I know you were usually on the recruiting trail, but I know recruiting ends and then football season starts. So tell me what your week one takeaways are from this fall camp under second year under Coach DeBoer.
Well, the thing that stands out to me, it seems to be a buy-in with this team. They seem to be close-knit, and another term I like to, put on this team is, accountability and awareness. They understand that, last year wasn't the standard, and everyone seems to know that and accept that and own it. They're not making excuses. They know that's not what the Bama fan base wants to hear. So I like the buy-in and the focus and intensity. Now, what I want to see, with focus and intensity, I want to see it translate into physicality. We got pushed around a lot last year, so let's see if we can transition that focus and intensity into physicality throughout the year.
Absolutely. And speaking of physicality, that's, I think, what makes the hair on one LaShawn Gray's neck stand is when he hears physicality, when he hears fall camp. I know this is your favorite time of year. As a matter of fact, we hear from practice just today, Coach DeBoer was demanding a little more physicality, got a little fired up. Lou, what's your takeaway, 1 week in?
I got some things to report, and there's some good things, there's some bad things. To just piggyback off what you guys were just addressing, I think DeBoer hit the nail on the head. These players need to be a little bit more unforgiving when they go about their business. Yes, they're teammates, but at the same time, this is football. A certain level of aggression needs to be harnessed in order to perform your craft correctly, and I think they need to get back to performing at that level. But again, it's early. They need to be recompensed back into this process to being aggressive, and I think they'll do nothing but. But other than that, I will say the thing that I've taken away from week one would be, number one, the shape of the players. Between this season and last season, you've seen the body types of two different players, specifically in our offensive line and our defensive backfield. Our offensive line has slimmed down, and they seem to be moving a little bit better. Then the same thing with our defensive backfield. They were a great last season. The only thing I was even harping on them a little bit is their physicality, and these guys have seemed to put on the weight to be at least putting the steps forward to be a little bit more physical about their business. The second thing that I've noticed and heard from some of these players would be the relationship between the team. The attitude of the team, they all seem to be of one sound and one mind, which last season we saw the players maybe be not on the same page at certain times during the game. That doesn't seem to be what's happening here. Hearing from multiple players during some of these interviews and from what the coaches have said off the work these players have been able to accomplish, that they're on the same page. Nobody's confused about what needs to be done or about how hard they need to be working. There were some growing pains in the summertime, but I think according to what David Ballou said, they got those hatched out, and I think they're moving in a positive direction. The third thing I've noticed from week one has to be the depth of this team, because no matter which coach is talking, they're going in depth talking about players. They're not getting stuck on just one player when they're asked about one room. They're getting started talking about one player, and they're leading into 2 or 3 different players in the room. That leads me to believe that this team actually has something that Bama has been missing in the past, and that is a healthy dose of depth team-wide, not just in one room or 2 rooms, throughout the team in every room, which is going to do nothing but pay it forward in the future of the SEC this season.
Good stuff, as always, Lou. And a man who's never short on his thoughts or or afraid to give his opinions. And I think he mentioned earlier, he's been diving into the fall camp headline, the stories, what's going on. Van, anything that surprised you that you've seen so far, heard from the coaches, players that, you weren't expecting to hear, that's pleasant, or maybe like, damn, we got to get better here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both sides of that. But, I'm a reserved fan. Like, I try not to gaslight myself. I try not to buy too much into hype. I want to see it from my eyes. But, man, watching this practice film has got me so fired up right now. Like, this Bama group, the intensity at practice, and not just from the players, the coaches, all the coaching staff is getting in there, man. They're fired up. They want guys doing it to perfection. And you can see it because every day, this first week of practice, you can see guys getting better. And when you can see guys getting better in that short amount of time, that tells you what kind of talent and what kind of respect they have for the coaching staff. So I'm so fired up right now and ready, man. And anybody that says Coach DeBoer is reserved really needs to go watch today's practice and listen to him talk, because there was nothing reserved about when them tight ends are going out to block today and he's wanting them to murder people. Like, there was nothing reserved about it. The man's not reserved. He's calm, cool, and collected, but he knows when to uncork when he needs to, and he did today.
Well, let me ask y'all this then. You're talking about DeBoer uncorking and maybe getting it a little more of his personality into this team. Do you guys think that's a sign of maybe last year it really was a bridge year where you're trying to just keep a team together? You're kind of taking what was left and given to you and making it work the best you can with what your system is, regardless if those players fit it or not. You had to make it work. And in that, you kind of coach differently. I don't care what anybody says. You're doing things a different way. Do y'all think what we're seeing out of DeBoer, even in this first week, is a coach that's more comfortable? Because what have we talked about this offseason? Players weren't transferring. These players are buying in. There's that B-Sci-Fi community, this team brotherhood. You're hearing it from recruits. When they get to Alabama, they're like, man, it's a brotherhood down here. Do you guys feel like that's given him more of a ability to coach this team like a coach can and the coach he is?
No doubt. Last year wasn't just a transitional year. It was a year that we were just holding, trying to keep from busting at the seams. It was a hold it together year. Mm-hmm. Now we're in the transitional period, and Coach DeBoer is more able, with the buy-in from this team to implement his style, and so I think this year we'll see the ship starting to right more, and I expect this to be a good year. We've seen coaches come in, this second year of a program, win a national championship, so I think that's not too much to look for within this team, because Ed Orgeron, I think he won a national championship in his second year. Les Miles, I think after Saban left, he soon after won the championship. So it can happen. It's very possible, and we had the foundation put in place. It was just a matter of having the right mindset, mentality, and buy-in from all the team and the players.
Oh, absolutely. So do you feel the same, Lou? Do you feel like this is a coach that's more comfortable that this is his team and he can coach it to a different level? Or is that just maybe they caught a snippet of a coach raising hell like he probably did last year and we just didn't catch it?
No, I think this is actually maybe a snippet of what he's actually like. And I think last season was just what happens when a coach gets thrown into a situation that is being the successor of the greatest football coach of all time. No one can write a script for that. No one can say that they have a way to do that. There is no way to navigate that type of ocean. It's never been done before. So the fact that he did what he did should be commendable. But we're Alabama fans and we're spoiled. So we demand greatness because that's what we are, is greatness. So if you look at the fact of what Kalen DeBoer has done, his attitude has been that. It's been aggressive. If you look what he did at Washington, if you look what he did at Fresno State, every place he's been, he's added a certain type of aggression to that team. I think the team actually needed time. I think adapting a coach's mentality in 6 months and then expecting that coach to have the mentality of the team is almost inconceivable to even imagine any coach being able to do that on any level and have effect. The fact that he's actually been with his guys through the fire in that quick a time and had that much success might even be a little bit more dangerous going forward because he does have the ultimate trust of his players, whereas a coach that say they wouldn't have gone through the fire with their head coach might not have. And I think that has to do with the way these players have gone about their off-season and summer workouts, the fact that they've taken it this seriously. And you have seen that there hasn't been any joking. There hasn't been any training taken lightly. All these players are serious. They're not talking about anything except for going 1-0. And that is nothing but a reflection of Kalen freaking DeBoer. And I need Alabama Nation to hear that. These players, if you listen to them, are a direct reflection of our head coach. And you need to listen because they're cooking.
I love it.
And knock on wood, you know, no off-field issues. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's
everything you're hearing and seeing is the emblematic of a program that's locked in. And Van, you kind of kicked off that question with your thoughts. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit with you because you kind of already talked on it. What players are you? I mean, we know the names that we're expecting to hear, but are there any players that you are kind of stepping up through this first week that maybe is a surprise?
Man, you know, Latsier Brooks, having been kind of no contact lately, and seeing more from guys like Mbakwe, Hale, Adams, you know, that's been a big deal to me. Watching guys like Cam Calhoun, man, Mincy. Oh, man, Mincy looks great. Lee. You know, everybody talks about the size of Lee, you know, 6'4", quarterback kid, but it's the fluidity of the hips, no Diddy. He doesn't get locked up.
Well, length and girth is important this year.
Well, it is on the plains, but we don't really consider that part of the state.
Big pause. Big
pause. But the fluidity of the hips, he doesn't get locked up. His footwork is fantastic for a guy that age. He was well coached. He had to be, because we know he's uber talented, but he's already out there looking like a seasoned vet in certain drills. And man, guys like that, man, you can't help but be excited. And I feel like they bring an intensity too. They get the upperclassmen fired up because they're coming in here and they want to play. And they don't care how long you've been here, what you've done, how decorated you are. It doesn't mean anything to them. They want their shine. They want to be on the field. They want to prove something. So when you get that kind of mentality, I think to circle back to what you had asked them, I think the board looks at that. He sees what he's got now. He's comfortable. And he looks at this team and he goes, this is a winning team. So I'm going to turn my intensity up to match my expectations because I know what these kids are capable of.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
No doubt.
Like Chubb said, it's all in the hips. Luke, look, man, I'm gonna pivot back your direction, and we're gonna go this. We're gonna counterclock. We're gonna reverse ship here. But tell me about the big uglies, man. We're in contract years, and look, for this defense to go from good to great, and for this team to get to the places you got to be, it starts on that defensive line. And national championship teams don't have a good front four. They have a good front eight. Their second group is guys that are about to be national championship guys. And there's a guy on this roster that's had a ceiling forever. And maybe he was behind Dallas Turner. Maybe it was weight gains or changes, but there's a couple of guys that are in contract years. We talked about this earlier. You've got LT Overton. What's his motor going to look like in a time where this is your chance to prove it to scouts? We know players can kind of hit an extra dial in a contract season. We saw it with we talk about me and Ole Miss. We saw Walter Nolan go from a kid that fell asleep at practice at Texas A&M to a monster that ended up in the first round at Ole Miss. Well, let's be real. Keon Keeley, he has that type of ceiling. LT Overton also has that type of ceiling. There's guys I'm not even naming yet because I'm going to let you take over here, Lou. What are we hearing out of fall camp out of that defensive line right now, man?
All right, so I'm gonna touch on three guys, just because these are the guys that I've heard their names come up the most, and they're not going to be the first three up in our defensive line, but they're definitely going to make an impact. And that is, I'm going to start off with Jeremiah Beeman, Edric Hill, and Jordan freaking Raynaud. And this is coming from their defensive line upperclassmen and teammates and the strength coaches and even some of the offensive linemen on the team. They've been talking about them. They've been saying that these guys have not only put in work and taken time to learn, they're making an impact. And they're not even worried about who's doing what at what time. They're just all worried about who's eating. They're so concerned about what everybody else is working, if everybody else is doing the right thing, and they're policing their own. And that is only going to pay it forward. The fact that we got so many defensive linemen that are actively making an impact, that are actively doing the right thing in the process. And the fact that these guys, if you look from this year to last year, a lot of these guys don't even look like the same players. They grew up into men in the offseason. Tim Kanan and LT Overton have done something with this defensive line. Now they got to put it on the field. But what I've seen so far, I haven't seen from a defensive line in Alabama in some time. And that actually does give me some faith, because it's not just going to be a couple, one or two guys on our defensive line trying to make an impact. When Bama's got 5 to 6 to 8 defensive linemen eating, it's all bad news for college football. And I do believe that we have the roster this year with the strength and the knowledge and the aggression to be just that.
And Lou, I think that's very important. You know, the depth you talk about on the defense line, especially early in the year, because the season is going to be a grind. So the more guys you get snaps early in the year, it can only help you, you know, later in the year.
Good stuff, man. We've got a question from the chat that I'm gonna bring in now. We're gonna get our chat involved. That's how we do it here at the Final Whistle early, because actually it's pertinent to right now. So while wait when we can answer this now, because I think it's pretty good, is James Smith. And this is another name that, again, if we're going to have that 8 deep and national championship defensive line, this is a name that needs to pop up. Is he playing opposite of the Bandit this year, or did I hear that wrong?
No doubt. He's playing on the interior.
He's an interior. He wasn't a Bandit.
Yeah, I thought he was a tackle, right?
Right.
But I was going to let you guys answer, because
he's on the interior. He's not a Bandit.
Got you. On the interior, I bleed crimson. I like that picture, though, by the way. Good stuff. Anything else from week 1, guys? There we go.
Just a little bit on the flip side, because you know I like the big uglies. Pause and no Diddy and none of that good stuff.
Well, you need length and girth to like the big uglies.
And none of that Hugh Freeze nonsense.
They're like mopeds.
Yeah, length and girth, that definitely helps on D.
Especially if you're going deep on D. But the offensive line, I heard something from our strength coach that just kind of made me just that's just some Bama shit right there. The fact that we got 2 guys that just be like squatting and benching like the whole entire weight room. The fact that we got 3 guys in the top 100 freaks in college football, and all 3 of them are offensive linemen. That's just stupid. We don't just got 1 freak, not just 2. We got 3, and those are on our offensive line. And they didn't even talk about the rest of the freaks of nature we got. But the fact that they mentioned 3 on our offensive line that are, I'm telling you what, guys, our offensive line has some competition, and we got some swing guys. The fact that we got competition and swing guys is only going to pay it forward, especially I'm going to piggyback off what Final Whistle Dan just said about this is a long season. You're going to want to get as many snaps as possible. When Washington won the Joe Moore Award for the offensive line of the year, they had 6 to 7 offensive linemen in that rotation. You got to have a healthy dose of rotation on both offensive lines if you want to go the distance, especially climbing the mountain with a 12-team playoff. You're going to need bodies. The fact that we keep harping on depth is not us just talking us till the pig's pink.
Luke,
depth is going to win us this.
I don't think you could have teed up a better segue. And look, when Alabama wins national titles, which is a lot of them last decade, if you paid attention, it's when competition has been effing fierce. It's when there's guys on the 3rd string fighting to be first string, and first stringers not turning their back because they could lose it. And no bigger position in this first week of practice is that more evident than at left guard. I mean, you're hearing Cam Dewberry, the A&M transfer, is fighting for a spot. Vandermark is making his headway. And Jaden Roberts, who, like you said, he's the guy that squats the whole damn weight room, you know, is in there fighting. This guy's got he's got all the potential in the world. He's got tons of playing time under his belt, but that's what you're saying. That's competition. Man, Van, you look giddy on this. I'm going to let you start out. Talk to me, brother.
Well, I want to circle back real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the freak list that Lou just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Feldman from The Atlantic, a great reporter. He's been doing this list since 2005. No team has ever had 3 offensive linemen on this list before. Ever.
Oh, wow.
It's never happened. And when he starts giving their measurables, and I don't mean like the kind Jerry Jones likes to look at the Cowboys, I mean actual football playing measurables. It's crazy, man. We've got a bunch of comic book heroes running around and pretending to be offensive linemen. These kids, not only are they strong, they're fast, they're physical, but then they've got it right here. And that's one of the more downplayed things in football. We don't talk about the guys that have it here because they see the angles, but they see what they need to work on. They improve from week to week. And they also have a work ethic because they realize what it takes to get there. So, I mean, man, this offensive line looks good. Like, they're already looking good. And from what I've seen, Geno and Dewberry have both been doing great at left guard. I've seen more of Dewberry, and that's because Geno can play any of the inside positions so well that they kind of move him around. And that's just a plus for us. You know, as Bama fans, we know we're getting depth there as well. You know, we talk about the depth at DBs, defensive line, linebacker, blah, blah, blah. The O-line's building it as well. And you mentioned this before, Petty. That's where championship teams are built. It's in the trenches. And you gotta roll deep at offensive line throughout the season to get to a championship. So yeah, man, it's really something to be positive about if you follow Alabama football right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, what you're talking about, these guys, like the physical look of them, these aren't just big, fat offensive linemen. These dudes are physically impressive. Mm-hmm. Dan, I mean, again, competition breeds greatness. You've been around it. Your brother has played in it. It is what it is. What are you seeing? I mean, does this excite you to see what's going on at the guard position, or where are you? What?
Yeah, man, I'm all for competition, man. It is you know, this. Let's be real. You know, Cam Dewberry, finally, you bring a player in for 1 year, you expect him to play. He was brought in with the intention of just plugging him in and playing. This is a guy in Geno Vandermark that is not just he's competing, you know. So you know he's creating competition, which is what you want to have ultimately. And when you have competition, ultimately, you know the team wins. So Geno Vandermark, he's an experienced guy, savvy veteran. He's a technician. You know, Cam Dewberry's more of a mauler, you know, and he's a guy that we've used to have at Bama, you know, the guy you bring in left guard to come in and be the mauler. You know, he fits that prototype. But this is a situation where Geno Vandermark may have the upper hand, the inside track, because he is a year into the system. You know, he's has familiarity with the guys on the line. So, and he's very versatile. You know, like you said, he can play all the interior positions. Dewberry, he can play interior. He's not much so center, but he can play interior, both interior positions, and maybe even right tackle. So, you know, both of these guys are versatile, and they both of them bring two different aspects to the position. So, you know, I think, you know, when you have more than 5 good offensive linemen, that can only be very beneficial to the team.
Absolutely. So, Lou, with the emergence of Geno, with how well Geno and Cam are doing so far in camp, and what we know of Jaden Roberts, he's a hulking individual. I mean, he's one of the strongest humans on planet Earth. If you can squat, you know, half a ton. What does this competition mean for him? Is that him falling behind, or is it just that the level of that position has been raised to that, and he just makes it that much better?
I think that's just going to push him more in the long run to be great. Mm-hmm. I think this is also, if we talked about a money year, if anything else, this is a money year. This is actually his coming out party. Last year, yeah, he did start the whole year, but he was nursing some injuries. But this year, he actually gets a chance to actually open up. And especially, Jaden Roberts is especially dangerous in the run game. And we didn't run the ball as strong as we need to last season. I think this season, especially with Ryan Grubb back at the helm, you're going to see a lot more physicality from our offensive line. And plus, Ryan Grubb is a former offensive line coach, so he loves pushing people around, especially when it's his offensive lineman over an opposing defensive line. I think the fact that these guys are both of pretty much the same size, and what Grubb and DeBoer have said, there's going to be a lot of plug and play. So I think the first part of the year, we're not going to see a solid lineup. I think we might even see a lot of rotation. I think all that does is build team chemistry for what's going to come in the future. I mean, like we said, we have a technician and we have a mauler. Not to say that Gino Vandermark is not a mauler. I've heard Kalen DeBoer say once Gino locks onto you, he clamps on and doesn't let go till the whistle's blown 6 times. So that's the thing that, you especially want, especially with the type of offense Grubb likes to run. I think that the best thing for Alabama is competition, because if you don't have competition, we've seen our offensive linemen in the past that haven't had competition, they got lazy. They might have been killing people in practice, but once they got to the games, we got exposed greatly. I'm not going to say no names. I'm not going to say no 50 numbers or no 60 numbers. We all know who they are. But the fact that Kalen DeBoer and Grubb have continued to say that there is competition means no one can afford to be lazy, or you're going to get passed up in this offensive line room, because they've already mentioned we've got some younger guys in this room too that will step up if need be. They've taken the necessary steps. They've put their bodies through some shit to be able to be on that level to compete, to play college football this summer. David Ballou has talked about it. These guys have come a long way to put themselves in a position to accomplish their mission this season. But this battle at left guard, I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
Because, this is Bama. This is competition. This is what we're here for.
Well, it is. When you hear guys that are as amazingly physical and beasts like Jaden Roberts are having to fight for positions, if that don't make you excited as a fan, you're not paying attention to how Bama operates and how this works. And as you mentioned earlier, Van, you like to kind of keep an even keel, but as Lou alluded to, Grubb is an offensive line guy. And one of the things that Bama fans were most excited about when DeBoer and company were coming to town was this is a Joe Moore coaching staff. They have Joe Moore Ward offensive lines up at Washington. They weren't just a Pac-12 patsy. They were some mauling dudes, and it sounds like the ingredients are there. Do you think this is what we were excited about as fans is something that could come to fruition with this offensive line this year, Van?
Oh, I definitely think so. I'm a big fan of the coaching staff, first of all. They're proven. They've done it at other places, and we've seen the results of what they can do. Now, you take that and you put it at Bama, where we get the best of the best in recruiting. People still want to play here because of the legacy built. So, the level of competition's higher. So these guys are getting to play in a sandbox they ain't never been in before. They don't have these kind of toys. So if they can make what they made, and it's no knock against Washington as a program, but they're kind of an afterthought in comparison to Alabama. So you think about what they can do with the level of talent they have with them right now. So you can't help but think that they're building something special right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's it's week 1 into fall camp. We know the mold, the Play-Doh is there to be, but we've got to see it happen, right? At the end of the day, but all the signs, when you're hearing the competition levels, you see the sizes, you see what these guys look like. And look, Cap is one of the best coaches on this staff. Grubb is an offensive line guy. All the makings are there for this to be one of the better offensive lines in the country. And again, we can talk about it all day long. National championship teams are built in the trenches. That football can change, rules can change, everything about it can change, rivalries can change. Hell, Bama doesn't get to beat the shit out of the Mississippi schools anymore. Now we play Oklahoma's an SEC home game. Shit changes, but one thing doesn't change: lines win championships. And it sounds like first week of fall camp with the battle at left guard, with the competition going on at defensive line. Again, freaks on contract years. That's what we are. This is the era. Those are all things that scream in Bama's favor right now. Anything else to add on this left guard battle, or anything going along with the big uglies? Sorry, guys, y'all aren't all ugly. Some of y'all kind of good looking fellas on the offensive line.
Well, let
I'm
me
not
say
calling. I'm not calling Jaden Roberts ugly in a dark alley. He gonna have to catch me.
But you know, I like that. You know, no one's talking about the tackle position this year. You know, going into the previous years, you know, we were kind of concerned about it. You know, and that being said, the size, you know, the guys got too big. You know, even going back to Evan Neal, you know, the guys just got too big at one point. You know, the guys lean down, and they're not, you know, asked to do some of the things they were before. You know, you now just being able to utilize the athleticism from them losing the weight to be able to do things, you know, the pin and pull, you know, the reach blocks and things like that. I think they're more fit to be able to do what we need them to do in this offense.
Good stuff. Any final thoughts on it, Lou? Before we hit the next topic, man, I'm gonna go a little side right now. I've just got an alert that, I mean, I know a lot of people say Reuben Foster might be the scariest guy in the Saban era, but only one man has punked an entire Saban coaching staff. And Saban wouldn't even approach him himself, and that's one Jesse Williams. When he painted his face at Alabama, Saban sent henchmen, and Jesse was like, "Nah, I ain't doing it." And but man, just got a note that Jesse, and he's okay, but Jesse had a heart attack today. Man, this guy, if you don't know Jesse Williams' story, again, he came from Australia. When he started playing football, I mean, that it was elementary, 12 people in the stands, Australian football, where it wasn't rugby. Comes over, does the junior college route, comes to Alabama. The story of he could see the Super Bowl, he said, and the only other football he had was movies. So he'd seen the program, and he thought people painted their faces like Latimer. So the first game he started, he painted his face. And he said he sees Saban walk by and like does a quick head turn and keeps walking. He's like, "Oh shit, I've screwed up." But Saban didn't tell him to ask him to like, "Hey, change it." He started sending side coaches, and man, Jesse, being the big freaking Australian beast he was like, ugh. And, you know, had family in stands. First game he was starting, and now he's scared the coach is going to bench him. So he but it's a funny story but man, just want to give, like I said, didn't want to get off, but he gets into the NFL, you know, gets diagnosed with cancer, goes in for treatment, gets it. As soon as he gets it taken care of, the next day he's trying to practice football. He may be one of the toughest dudes to ever walk or in on Bryant Denny's field. He was a stud at Alabama in the 2 years we got him. But again, this is a man this fought cancer and then now had a heart attack today. But he's posting pictures. Apparently he's okay. But man, just want to give thoughts and prayers to one of the baddest dudes that ever strapped it on for our Alabama Crimson Tide. We love you, Jesse, and hope that you're okay, buddy.
Dude, brother.
When your nickname's the Monster, I mean, that tells you something. But you know, everything this man's been through and then has a heart attack, and he posts today and he says still very hard to kill. I mean, wow. The dude's an animal. You gotta love that mentality.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you never forget. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, he's Australian, but if he's everything Alabama embodies and everything we love about Bama legends, tough, grit, well, I mean, never say die, mother. Yeah. Talk about never say die. Jesse Williams is never say die. Lou, he's got to be like your spirit animal.
Yeah, you give me that guy and Landon Dickerson in a bar fight. I like my chance.
Yeah,
both of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Come get me, me. Come get some.
You get those guys. I'll bring Ashawn and Jaron Reed.
I mean, you think about this. He's got 2 national titles as a Bama guy, and then he's the first ever Australian-born player to win a Super Bowl ring. Mm-hmm. I mean, the list of accomplishments, man, what this guy's accomplished. But outside of that, and more importantly, the man that he actually is.
Great.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's inspirational to a lot of people.
Yes. And he's back in Australia today trying to grow the game and even trying to get back to Tuscaloosa. He fell in love with Alabama. Just wanted to he is one of a kind, special human, and he is all Alabama, and he's one of us. And so we're giving our thoughts and prayers and love to one Jesse, the Monster Williams, this evening as he's recovering from a heart attack. So much love to that guy. Hard to segue into that, but we're talking about veterans of Alabama. Let's talk about, we're going to hop back into camp a little bit. What are the vets saying right now? And that's a good question, because these are the guys that stuck with Kalen, that bought into the program and now seem to really be bought in. I'm going to let Lou spearhead this one. Lou, what are the vets saying about camp so far, about Coach, or about anything in general?
So, I don't know. A lot of people have heard these player interviews, and they've been asked a lot of questions. A lot of them, some of them been injured, some of them about their performances in the bowl game last season, different things. But the thing that stood out to me most is what they're saying about their young teammates. They have nothing but absolutely great things to say about their young teammates. The first thing that I've noticed that they said about their teammates is the general love and respect they have for one another. And I don't mean that in a cushy-dushy way. I mean that in the fact that they care about each other enough to hold each other accountable to do the right thing every freaking time. They have the accountability to hold each other to a standard of being consistent every time they do something. And that right there says a lot about where this team's mindset is going forward. And I think that when you got a team that actually truly cares for each other, for instance, Quay Russo, everybody knows that's been my guy since day one. And this year he's actually stepped into a leadership role. What he has said about his experience at Alabama before this season and what he's experienced this season tells me all I need to know about this team. He said, before this season, I wasn't really a guy to go out. I really wasn't a guy to, I wasn't like I was a bad teammate. I just didn't really hang out with everybody. But now he's talking about this summer and this spring, how TK has had people over. They've been going bowling together as a defense. They've been having cookouts together as a defense. They've been hanging out as a team. The fact that this team is actually getting back to the B-side 5 mentality, says a lot about Kalen DeBoer and his message about what it actually means to be a team and be a good teammate. So the fact that the vets are highlighting the fact that they're young guys, especially the young guys, are understanding this, because if you it's one thing to get the older guys that have been in the program, that have been in college football, to buy into something. But when you get 18-year-old kids to buy into a message, to buy into a mentality and a goal, that is just going to pay it forward, especially in competition, because this is Alabama. We get the best talent. It's about getting these kids to have the right attitude and mentality. And I think these vets have done a good job of bringing these kids along, and they're giving them recognition. And at the same time, they're challenging them to get better every day.
Good stuff.
No doubt.
That's key, man. Again, we can harp on it enough, but what DeBoer had to walk into and try to maintain, you just got it was chaos, man. You got players wanting to leave. The greatest coach of all time left because half the players were in his office asking about how much more money could they get. And look, I get it. That's the world we're in, but that wasn't the world he was going to be in. He walks out and, it gets a little chaotic. But 1 year later, players aren't transferring, and now you're hearing this from veterans. Dan, man, you've been a part of the program for a long time and really seen. When your brother was there, it was the good Lord. It was the era of every coach every 6 months. You change coaches like underwear during his time. What does this tell you in the early tenure about DeBoer when vets are coming out and saying things like what Lou was talking about?
It tells you, like I said before, there's a buy-in, there's a belief. They believe in Coach DeBoer, and they believe in each other, and that's big. And another thing is, there's not a player on this team that's won a championship, so the hunger is there. These guys are hungry. Alabama, is no longer. You look up, we're no longer the hunted. We're hunters now.
That's right.
So, and I think that's going to be very beneficial to these guys. They want to experience. They come to Alabama to win. So And right now, up to this point, they've been doing the right things, to get Bama back to where it's, accustomed to being, So the buy-in and the attitude and mentality of this team, man, the coaching staff, they've done a tremendous job of, holding it together, righting the ship, getting these guys engaged, getting them involved, and understanding the task that's at hand. I truly believe, this is going to be one of the greatest seasons we've had in a while at the University of Alabama.
Dan, I'll be honest. I'm kind of feeling that too, and I've always prided myself. I know we talk about it all the time. I am split. I'm Ole Miss, Alabama, but what that's always felt like it's done for me is giving me a unique perspective. I love Alabama. I'm as in tune with Alabama. I told y'all before, I know more about what's going on at Alabama right now than I do Ole Miss. I'm a huge Ole Miss fan, but from that fan perspective, I can get jaded, and I brought up the Ole Miss side because when players start talking, I kind of have to really comb through it, because I've heard all my life, every player says in the fall, man, we're here to win a title. They say all the right things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm starting. I was talking about, I pride myself in being able to be a Bama fan, know as much, but the Ole Miss fan in me, it gives me a little bit of a different perspective. I don't always drink the Kool-Aid. I don't always buy in. I can tell you when a spade's a spade, when, I got a lot of hell for the Milrose stuff last year. But on the flip side, I'm really starting to buy into this team and what DeBoer is doing with this program. But again, there's the red guy on me that says, man, players say the right thing at this time of year. They're all going to win titles. Van, what are they saying that makes you, the fan side, believe that, this just ain't players saying the right thing at the right time? This is some real shit that we can believe that Bama really is back to what we expect them to be.
Well, what you said, I'll follow up with that, because you do hear a lot of players speak that just seems year to year to seem like the same thing. And and like I said before, I don't gaslight myself. I don't buy in until I see proof.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to highlight an instance at practice today that made me believe that the veteran leadership on this team was really stepping up more than they have in previous years. There was an instance where Jeremiah Beeman, who's been killing practice, by the way, but he had a couple of mistakes in a certain drill, and you see Tim Keenan pull him off to the side and give him instruction like a coach would, and you see Beeman go back out there and try it a different way, and he's learning from him because he respects him, and you've seen it work out in real time, and that's the kind of things that mean something to me. I could visually see leadership taking place. It's those moments like that that makes you realize what kind of team you got in front of you when you see guys doing what coaches do on the side. That got me excited. That built me up, because Beeman's a dog anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was one of the lone bright spots in that Michigan game last year for me. He showed out. He had a good game. And for him to still be coachable and not have an ego and take instruction from an older, teammate, that means something to me. That shows me something about Tim Keenan and Beeman at the same time. Both guys. I mean, we got something here, boys.
That brings up a good point, Lou. If this doesn't go the direction you're going to say, address what you're going to address, but then I want you to go with it. Leadership. That seemed to be something, that was sorely lacking last year. And that's what you seem to take away from that. Who are the leaders amongst this veteran group that we didn't have last year? Who are the guys that are in that locker room this year that when times do get rocky, that are going to be the ones that grab people by the face mask? That might not have been the way you were going, Lou, but after that, I'd like to hear y'all's perspective on that.
Yeah, addressing what you were saying as far as leadership, it's definitely way different from last year. And that's kind of segue into what I was going to say, is as far as the thing about leadership is leading by example. And the one thing the leaders of yesterday, Alabama's football team, did is they tried to lead with this. Now, if y'all paid attention, we've dropped the graphics that say Alabama has been ultimately disrespected in the preseason votings, the preseason rankings, the preseason SEC teams, and all that good stuff. But when these players this season got asked the question, well, how do you feel about the disrespect about not being named to an SEC team? Not near one of them said a word. They said, Damani Jackson's like, Keon Sabb's like, oh, we just don't talk about that. We're just going to go 1-0 and it'll take care of itself. The fact that they're not addressing the outside noise in any instance, that leadership right there leads into what I'm going to say next, is that they have trust in each other not to be selfish. And the thing about last year's team and teams in the past couple years, we've had some selfish football players. If you're a true fan, you can admit that. I can admit that. This team does not have that selfish factor. This team does not have a whole bunch of individuals. These guys have teammates. They have brothers that actually truly care. Not just a whole bunch of teammates that are coming in and punching a card. These guys generally care about their teammates' success, even at the expense of them having to do some dirty work. The fact that these players have talked about their teammates succeeding, that is something I haven't heard from an Alabama football player in some time.
Absolutely. Like I said, man, it's I pride myself on, and like you said, man, I pride myself on being someone that feels like I take it even more so because I do have a mixed fandom that I can look at it from a different view and be tame. But man, I look at the schedule. I look at what's coming. And look, we haven't even talked about it on this show. What I expect out of Ty Simpson. I expect this offense to look completely different with that kid. But Dan, are there vets that you're expecting to kind of step up in that leadership role that we didn't have last year?
Well, definitely, you're already starting to see it right now, with guys like Jeremy Bernard, like Lou said, we did, and that kind of hit a little bit, Lou. We did have some individuals on this team last year, in prior years, so I like these guys that we have now, leaders. They're leading by example. They're not doing the talking on off season. They're letting the other teams talk. They're not going out saying what they're gonna do. They're just focusing on the task at hand. They know that they're not worried about individual accomplishment. They're not worried about Thorpe Awards, Bolitnikov. They're not worried about things like that. They are focused on the ultimate team prize, and which is winning a championship. And everyone, from the leaders on down, seem to have that mentality, and you got to love it.
And look, man, what before all the Heisman started coming in and people started winning all those awards, that was one of the things that Bama took pride in. We don't win awards like that because we win as teams. We win football games. Y'all win awards. We win football games. And look, the awards do come with it at times because you've got players that are exceptional. Great. But yeah, when the mentality, but that's because the mentality was team and great players just won awards because they were great. But those Saban teams had that mentality. Bama, nobody shuts teams out in the playoffs. Bama do. So that's, it was that team, mission, everything. And again, you want to start drinking some damn Kool-Aid, drink it because of that. This Bama team's got back to the basis of, we don't care about anything. We care about Bama. We care about the A. We care B-Sci Phi. We care about winning. And, that's scary for that's scary for the rest of the country because and to your point, Dan, Bama's not the number 100 right now. No, Georgia's been winning the SEC titles. Texas is getting a lot of love. But one thing you can say is that A never gets overlooked on the schedule by anybody. When you play that A, you better buckle it up. And again, man, not to drink it too much, but this year you better buckle it up double because, in a year that was like just straight crazy ass transition, things looked ugly at times. The Oklahoma game, the Vanderbilt games were abominations. That was a 9-win football team in a year that was a straight shit show. So a shit show was 9 wins. That means your floor of upset of what can be is 9. That's any other programs like, holy crap, where did we sign? And Bama fans are like, well, that was a disaster. And a lot of it,
a 9-win season for Auburn is like Christmas to those.
Can we get where do we give our like what
that's a team
parlor do
that's
we
never had back-to-back 10-win seasons?
What massage parlor do we go sign up for that at? You know, how much length and girth do you need to win 9 games? But no, again, the country should be scared, because if that's the floor for Bama, and people, I guess, forgot real quick, and I know Bama fans didn't, and the people with brains didn't, DeBoer's history is winning. It's winning titles. He was going to play for titles at Washington. He beat Texas at Washington. He's now got a team bought in. Last year's team wasn't bought in. This one is. Should be, take note, country.
Yeah. And another thing that I like, we're not seeing a whole lot of talking on social media.
Not a lot of the off season. The TikToks have died down, or at least I'm not seeing them.
Right.
The Twitter fingers turned to no fingers, and I love
it.
They're
locked in, man.
Again, the smoke signals coming out of the Vatican aren't good for the rest of the Vatican of Tuscaloosa aren't the ones you want to see if you're the rest of the country, because it's a program. Man, I can't believe it took someone that long to bring that up. Apparently Hugh Freeze left some of his devices at Oxford, and we didn't throw them away, and now we run through them.
Really?
Have you not seen it, Dan?
No.
Ole Miss releases a video, and it's when the running backs run through the stuff that hits them, and we've seen like 38,000 variations of it, but we've never seen one that was just a bunch of dildos, and that's apparently what Ole Miss has. So,
oh well, there's a lot of them laying around right now because they're getting thrown out at WNBA games and they're sweeping them off the court, and so Ole Miss is just recycling, and good for them.
So that was a real video. That wasn't fake.
No, that was real. They're just getting in the slack.
What? So
like I can't even. Someone's like, Petty, can you defend this? And I'm like, no. How can no? Like I'm gonna jump in on it. Like I'm with y'all. Like it's
is that why Quichon transferred? He was sick of it.
He would have stayed if we'd have had that device then. I think. Crap, I don't know. I've heard. Oh, no, I think that was a Hugh Freeze harness left over that we need to send back to Auburn. Good gracious alive.
Yeah, he can't really afford the shipping right now, so the parlors have gotten higher.
He's worried about some length and girth. We have one more question in there we need to hit up real quick. Nick Saban Jr. asked, what are your thoughts on Yanze Pierre? If you don't know, that's the freak 6'4". Boy, he looks good. 6'4", 220-pound freshman linebacker out of Eufaula. Is he not? Lou's shaking his head. What did I mess up on?
He's 248 pounds, and he's a redshirt sophomore.
My bad. Lou is absolutely tied into locked in on the strength and conditioning gains in the offseason. I, Daniel Petty, admit that I am not. So apparently he's now 248. So he's a truck. Yeah. Is he? I mean, but he's a freshman. Is he looking in the rotation at all? Dan, Lou, Van, you heard anything on this kid? Other than he's 248 now and that bigger shit brick house.
Well, I'll say this. He's definitely on the clock. Now's the time. Now's the time for him. The opportunity is there. We tried him early in the season last year.
Yeah,
he kind of fell back in the rotation some. So he's up. He's on the clock. Okay. So if there's ever an opportunity to make an impact, we expect it to be this year.
Lou, man,
he's got a good chance because obviously we know Quay's going to be that guy, but let's face it, Pierre's got 2 absolute dogs on his heels right now, and Noah Carter and Justin Hill. Mm-hmm. And those 2's hands are some violent things to behold. and they both can bend the edge like Beckham. So if Yans ain't about his business, and Kane has already shown he is not scared or a little bit fleet of foot to throw a freshman out there. So if Yans ain't getting it done, there will be someone passing up. This is that type of defense. This is Alabama. However, I think that Yanze Pierre's gonna make himself his presence shown. He's actually probably one of our better run stopping Wolves, probably behind Quay, in my opinion. He's probably the second best run stopper as far as setting the edge in that room. Because as Dan and I will harp on, there's someone in that room that has problems setting a damn edge. So, but Yanze Pierre's, I think he's got a good shot this season to make an impact.
Ben, anything to add?
I think I agree with everything that's been said so far, but especially the part that nipping at his heels, though, because I'm going to tell you something. Hill and Carter would be starting anywhere else right now, and I truly believe that. But I'm going to say this as a pessimistic fan at times. The hype's there, the talent's there, but at that Wolf position, the production hasn't always necessarily been there. And so I'm looking for all these guys to step up. This is the time. Man, we're so deep right now that it's going to be hard to keep many of these guys off the field. So rotationally, we may see a lot of these guys play. I fully expect to see him play. But, man, he's got some younger guys behind him that not going to take no for an answer. They're showing out in practice right now.
There you go. Good stuff. And look, we keep our promises here at the Final Whistle. We had a little mic issues last week. We promised it would be better. Lou got it taken care of. We brought you the Thunder this week. It has been an excellent evening here at the Final Whistle with my Avengers. Dan, Lou, finally got Van the man on here. Guys, football season's here. If you can't tell, we're excited. The chat seems pretty excited. We're just getting started. We got next week fall camp rolling around. I mean, then we're just weeks away from opening kickoff in Tallahassee. I don't care. I know it's, screw Florida State. I know we're probably going to kick that butt, but I'm pumped about this. The 90s kid in me is pumped to go into Doak Campbell and stick to those war chanting. Oh, what, Luke?
We got one more question.
Oh, okay. I believe Crimson. So is LT's position Wolf or Bandit?
Overton's a bandit.
Mm-hmm.
What is he at? 278 right now? What is it, Luke?
Yep, 278.
Yeah. And again,
definitely a bandit.
Overton is if this defense is going to be, if this is a national championship caliber team, that's one of the kids that lives up to the billing this year. We can say it enough, but it's contract times for some of these kids, and let's do it. And then again, if they do it, it's going to bode well for Alabama. So he is a bandit. I love these names: Wolf, Bandit, Crash Bandicoot, all that shit. All right, been another fantastic evening with the Avengers, with our newest Avenger, Van, the man who I hope I'm assuming he's going to be with us here throughout the season. Hopefully we can get Chris James out of practice. They're not, in Georgia, they don't make them as tough as they do in Alabama. So they make them practice at like 9 at night because, the sun's just too hot or whatever, while we're still getting it done midday in, Title Town. But Chris will be back with us. Been an excellent show, guys. We're going to go around, tell us where they can find you, follow you, and then we're going to sign off and go on to the next week. Dan, tell us about it, my man.
Yes, definitely follow me on X at the Final Whistle Dan. You catch me on Facebook, Dan James IV, Instagram, Dan James IV. You catch me here every Tuesday night on the Final Whistle Network with my fellow cast of Avengers. And I have one big question. Van, which Avenger are you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, I don't want to take any names, but I've been called Thor a few times because of,
we got our Thor
hammer. If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know.
Thor. What did we all ever say? Mine changed like 3 different times. So I can't remember. Like Matt had a new one for me each time. So
I'll be honest, now, not officially an Avenger, but Deadpool did help them a few times, and you've got some Deadpool to you, buddy.
I think now that was one. I think I did get the outlier Deadpool. So that I'll take that one. That one works. He makes me laugh. But Lou, where can we find you, good sir?
You can always find me on Facebook and Instagram, Lucian Graves. I'm always posting Alabama, making these awesome graphics, keeping the Alabama nation educated and involved on what's going on with our team. I'll be posting a lot more of these on our X page, on my personal page. Stay tuned, too. We got some new shows coming out. We'll drop those names in the graphic here, I think, coming up next week once we get a little bit more around closer to the season. You can also find me on X at it's rolling on the bottom of the screen. 4-2 Lucius 1.
There you go.
You can find me on X. Or you can find us at 456 Final Whistle on X or Twitter.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Moon Rocket. It does smell like football. Nick Saban Jr., we appreciate you. Ban the man. Newest Avenger. Where can we find you, good sir?
Man, you can't find me nowhere because I get kicked off everything. You don't even understand. I've tried my best to keep it, PG at least, a little 13 every once in a while, but I'm trying to be better. But I get kicked off everything, so you can't find me nowhere. But I'd actually like to take just a second to shout out some shows that have shouted us out in the past and promoted our show, and they do good work. I'd like to holler at I'd like y'all to check out The Long Run with the Piano Man. He's awesome. Great show. We've got Sharpshooter Sports Talk. Man, they talk some great football over there. It's a fun one. Y'all need to check it out. And my main man, Kangaroo Black. And if you ain't never watched Kangaroo Black, you're missing out. Because the man's not only entertaining, but he'll drop knowledge on you. And I've seen him beat Auburn and Georgia fans until they're dumb, just beating them down verbally. And he's a cool dude. I consider him a friend, and this shows y'all need to check out.
Kangaroo Black. If I'm going to second that. I'm assuming everybody here should know. If not, that dude's a legend. He's a
legend.
No doubt.
He's I wear Kangaroo Black pajamas, so that's he's the man. Look, I'm Daniel Petty, your host for this show this evening. I know I'm not as pretty as Matt Goodell, but somebody's got to keep these guys in line. You can find me at Petty_Daniel. Always here at Tuesday night, 8 Central, 9 Eastern with my Avengers. And guys, there's only 2 words we use this time of year. Roll damn Tide. Well, that's 3. I can't count. I'm from Mississippi, right?
Hey, before we go, I just want to give another shout out to Georgia. I don't think y'all got pulled over again this week.
Yeah.
Well, they've got them quarantined. I think they've got them quarantined at practice. Oh, and hit that. Hey, everybody in there, hit that Nick Saban, Moonrock. All y'all hit that like and subscribe. Get us those likes. Share it with your mama. Share it with
so they quarantine the players at Georgia? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, they had to quarantine them.
They're all locked up.
That's my point. You can't go back to jail when you're already in there.
Yeah.
And they cut their Wi-Fi off, and it's lights out at 8 o'clock. So
how you get your ankles? How you get your ankles taped with the thing on your ankle? I'm just asking. I'm just curious.
I don't know how you get half that stuff in commissary either, but that's a different discussion.
Well, they have to practice on break on when you get your outings.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, roll Tide, ladies and gentlemen.
Till next week. Roll Tide,
Big
ladies
roll
and
tide.
gents.
Roll Tide.